Hi guys, welcome back to another Matchbox Garage video. I'm Rob and today I'm going to attempt to take this Matchbox Datsun 260Z from shabby to shiny. This one needs perhaps a little bit more than just the buff up and repaint. Of course we are, it's busted from left to right, from front to back, from top to bottom. The metal seems to have been trampled on or squashed or most likely probably driven over. We are missing the doors, we're missing one of the A pillars and eventually a second A pillar, which you'll find out later on in the video, but the main aim is to ultimately try to get this somewhat back to shape, repaint and get it looking good again. I do hope you like this one. I put a lot of time and effort into it and I hope you can comment down below, good or bad. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't done already. Click that notification bell. I would certainly appreciate it. But yeah, looking here, as you can see, we're missing the A pillar from the left hand side. We do have it intact currently on the driver's side, and then you can see the windscreen there on the front and also on the back is just a bit busted out. There's no cracks in it actually, but certainly not reusable today. So you can see the kind of bottom of the car there bent where it's bowing over almost like a banana. This one, it's bowing out on the sides, some quite deep heavy scratches to the roof. Yeah, even the base there, just a little bit bowed. Certainly bananaed, I think is a good term for this one. But I'm just going to remove the flange at this stage. I shall drill down the centre of the posts and tap all three holes actually, yeah. I'm quite glad that there was 3 holes on this one. It allowed, I guess, more area to try and when I screwed it back on at the end, kind of gave it a little bit more rigidity. On the front of the casting is a larger post, and on the rear smaller posts. They are quite difficult to drill down the centre of the post on these ones, the 2 rears at least, because they are so very small, but I did manage to do it. It certainly just took a steady hand later on. You may notice some of the different colours of the drawers there, the bottom one in a candy blue and the one I just pulled out there in the red. Actually, my bits and pieces and tools and stuffs are in different drawers, so I think just then I went to the drawer that I was used to, realised I put them in a different one nowadays. Yeah, there's that let's say candy red drawer there. 2 or 3 of you watched the kind of customization of my drawers in my latest videos, albeit a week or so ago. But the interior here in white, thankfully in relatively good condition, very dirty, but of course the tow hook is broken off and we'll remove that later. And yeah, this is the windscreen here. This is not usable, so I shall gently place it to one side. The base just needed a little bit of a tweak, a little bit of a twist to get it straight again. Those wheels of course will be coming off and replace it with something a bit more fancy. But yeah, this is going to take some time. I'd say I have probably, I don't know, I want to say 3 hours in the kind of trying to straighten and out process of this little casting. Probably 3 hours, I'd say. The little hammer here and this, which is quite weighty, it's a think they call it a jeweler's sandbag. And yeah, I think this casting is bashed every which way. It's squashed a bit. It's bowing out on the sides. It's also twisted. And then the chassis itself is just bent down, you know, bananaed, as we mentioned earlier on. Obviously we've got one missing A pillar. The second A pillar is broken, and the two B pillars are also broken. This roof section here, just trying to gently bend it back into position. Of course, what we don't want to do is to try and bend this back and then it snaps in half, which has happened before. You can see the roof line on that rear window, of course, is caved in somewhat, so we need to straighten that up as well. But yeah, in general, what I find with cast is that if you bend it one way, you bend it back, it snaps. So we need to be very careful. I always know these are never going to turn out 100%. But if I can get it to 90%, I think I'm quite happy with that. You know, what I see beside me now as I do this voiceover is a casting that, if you perhaps squint a little bit, looks as good as new. And it certainly rolls well and it's playable again. And I think if I line that up with the rest of my customs and restorations, you wouldn't know that this was in such a state to begin with. But as you can see, I'm just working the casting little by little. Usually I'd kind of almost skip, but I thought I would show just some of the process and some of the toolings that we use. You can start to see now it's kind of coming back in, struggling really to try and straighten out this you know, along the bottom there, but I think we are starting to get somewhere. You'll notice the vice is in shot there, and I use that as well, mainly to try and almost kind of squeeze it back together where it's been, you know, assuming stamped on, and it's bowing out. I'm trying to just squeeze it back in again. And also using the vice to try and straighten up the kind of chassis, should we say? You know, that. But it's quite, you know, considering it's only thin metal, really, it is very tough. And I thought, you know, let's put a bit of heat to it. And I've done it off camera because, of course, flames, heat, and looking through the camera, probably a dangerous combination. But as you can see here, I think we've straightened that out. Maybe it needs a couple more, you know, squishes. You can actually kind of see really where that A pillar I haven't touched against the roof line. The roof line is now dropped, and that's because this whole rear end has been lifted up through straightening out that chassis. So yeah, I was quite happy with that. I've actually run out of gas on that little lighter, so I'll have to hide that or maybe switch it out in the kitchen. Hopefully the wife don't notice again. But yeah, there's the replacement set of doors. I have, you know, of course, many castings that I use for spares and repairs. Got a whole box of parts. But yeah, we managed to grab a set of wheels, a set of doors rather, and the window section. But yeah, having the caustic soda treatment, and whilst that was doing its thing, we clean up the plastics, and as you can see here, the replacement window section in good condition. Needs a bit of a buff, but otherwise very usable. And it's been perhaps 20 minutes in the caustic soda solution. So the set of doors here. The base come out looking pretty good, and you can somewhat read underneath there. Once this is all buffed up and repainted, you can really see what it says underneath. But so I'll save that for later. And then, you know, with all the paint gone on this casting, we can kind of really start to see perhaps what needs further work. Some of the glue points, and of course replacing this A-pillar. Like I say, I ended up having to replace both of them, but I use these split pins or cotter pins depending on where you are in the world. These are flat on one side and rounded on the other, and I'll select one that is of similar thickness to this one here, cut it down to size and glue it in place, and the idea is that you would never know. But let's get the old Dremel out, buff up the roof section here. And yeah, there goes the A-pillar, and I shall very gently and put it over to the side there, and I'll remember that that's exactly where I put it, right? So anyway, a little while later on, and as you can see, I have now cut down the cotter pins and stuck those into position. But whilst I was, you know, I always clean up after myself as I go, and I managed to sweep the kind of A-pillar onto the floor. Never mind. But you can see I put a little bit of glue there where these A-pillars were, and you know, I've rubbed down the areas there, and I think these have come out well, pretty well. Bit bummed that I lost one of them, but hey, narrow. At least I've got a matching pair, I guess. But anyway, cleaned it all up, taken down some casting lines as well whilst I was at it. And then I'll start with the single can of primer. Sometimes with these real broken ones, I kind of overdo the paint thickness to try and hide some of the you know, damaged and replaced parts, and almost try to use the paint for a bit of added rigidity. But yeah, I didn't do it today. Got the interior here, which we'll just give a simple satin black finish to, mimicking a nice, I'd like to say black leather, but being a, what is this, 1978 I think, yeah, 1978, I guess it would be vinyl. I remember growing up, I had, my parents had an Austin Allegro. Google it if you don't know what it is, but from that same era, you know, well, it might have even been a little bit earlier, probably late 60s, maybe early 70s. Austin Allegro. It was dark green, and it had green, what I, as a kid, thought was leather, but it was plastic. And in the summer, God, don't wear shorts, you burn. But anyway, the base here, nicely polished up, and yeah, just showing the kind of wording underneath there. But again, there's a better shot of what it says a little bit later. We're using the, what was it, TS14, I think, the black. It's provided by our friend Tony Bellini. And I shall just give this a single coat of the gloss black. Comes out really good, looking almost factory. But there you go. And what I didn't show earlier, I just kind of carved that rear end down just so that it's obviously it looks a bit better without the tow hook. We're going with a colour shift, the Solar Anomaly. It's a difficult word for me to say. The black there primer, and then we should go over it. This is what it looks like in the cup. Kind of looks like a pearly white. And it looks like I was kind of having a bit of difficulty to start there with the paint. Maybe a little blockage. Haven't used it for a little while, probably a couple of weeks. And sometimes, because I don't put the cap on, you see, so I may have had a little bit of dust in there to start with. But, you know, once she got going, she was all right. And after I give this a good going over, of course with the doors as well separately, and then I followed up with 3 coats of clear, just to get it nice and shiny. But anyway, it is now the second day, and like I say, underneath there you can read, there you go, number 67, Datsun 260Z, or the 260Z 2+2 from 1978, would you believe? And look at this colour, look at the shine to start with, and the colour flip between the purple and the, what's that, it's kind of like a copperish colour. It's a beautiful colour flip. And if you do look really close, you can see some of the joins, I guess. But, you know, if we just keep that kind of secret between ourselves, no one else will notice. A little crack on the replacement windscreen there, but certainly better than what we had. The painted black interior. And then we're using these shopmonoblock.com wheels today. But anyway, here's a little reminder of what we started with. And this is the result. So a little bit of chrome in those headlights. Coming around to the side. Of course, these wheels are really nice. I'm not a lover of the kind of axles that they come with. They just seem to be a little bit too small. But I use some UV glue and to get them to fit. But yeah, you know, the lovely paint on this one. Like I say, if you was to squint, and I hope you're squinting right now, I bet it looks perfect. But between, you know, you and I, we know that this is not 100% perfect. But after 3 hours of bending and bashing and scraping, and you know, I think you'll agree it looks okay. It was an interesting one to do, none the same. But anyway, big thanks to my patrons again. Cheers, guys. Like I say, please do comment down below. I read every comment. Please do subscribe. Click that bell. And I will see you in a very near future video.